Hello, I'm Robin and welcome to Molten Modular. Today we're looking at the Look Mum No Computer 1114 Filter Grrr. It's the sort of filter that feels like it's an accident, like it was a calamity, like Sam was just fiddling around in his shed, as he does, and it just kept getting worse and worse, at which point he went, "This is fabulous," and stuck a front panel on it. It's strange, it's weird, it doesn't necessarily do what you think perhaps it should, or really what you necessarily want it to, but that gives it this unique character, this unique quirk and place within your rack that's going to stick its fingers up to any other filters in your bank and just go, no, use this one, because I'm like weird and that. The filter grrr can go from soft bouncy tones into full-on synth punk party mode with just a couple of nodges. Or nudges. Nodges? Let's nodge this. So it's nice. It's got a nice rubberiness to it, a bounce. Nothing wrong with that. Then as you play, start to bring those edges in. What the heck is that? Yeah. So it's fun, it's unruly, it's weirdly stepped and fizzy in places. The resonance doesn't just sort of roll itself out into some kind of push of frequencies. It completely fall apart. It dilapidates under your very fingers. And you have this weird switch, which switches between things that we don't even know what that's supposed to do. But it appears to do something. So it's dysfunctional. It's strangely tempered, weirdly on some kind of other spectrum that no one quite knows about, and it keeps wanting you to push it over the edge, which you then do, because that's kind of the fun stuff right there. The 1114 is the second module in the Look Mum No Computer Kosmo / Eurorack range. What is that all about? Well, Sam Battle, this guy of Look Mum No Computer, created this format, the Kosmo format. He took Eurorack technology, which was small and fiddly in his manic, chaotic live performances, and blew it up to a ridiculous size. This is the ridiculous size. This is the oscillator in Kosmo format. And it's big, it's brash, it's huge. It allows him to get his fingers in there to properly control stuff while he's performing. Brilliant. And all of his designs are available in this Kosmo format, which is fantastic. But for the rest of us who like using Eurorack, who perhaps aren't pogoing up and down in our live performances and just want to sit down and noodle in a small way on small knobs, then this is an opportunity to do that with Sam's kind of mad, out there, weird and wonderfully interesting designs. These are put together by Christian Block of Funk Mod, and he says they are exact replicas of the Kosmo format modules of Sam's designs, just done with surface mount and smaller components. The design of this literally came from Sam fiddling about.
With this particular filter, I started with the datasheet schematic of a low-pass filter, and I basically just kept on fiddling around with it until it started sounding a bit funky.
And so we have the 1114 filter Grr. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug it back into my rack, bring you in a little bit closer, plug a load of stuff into it and see what sort of sounds it makes. The 1114 filter Grr then. This is the second Eurorack module in the Kosmo Eurorack Look Mum No Computer range. The first one is the 1222 Performance VCO, which is sitting here, which I've also done a video review of. They, of course, are perfect partners, designed for each other, in fact. If you can say this filter was designed as opposed to discovered in a back alley shooting up. But anyway, just to give you an overview, there's your cut-off knob. You've got a clip circuit, which is like pouring a little bit more, just a little bit. Can I have a little bit more of disaster on top of my current disaster, please? That's that knob, just a little bit. It takes any of the rounded edges, any of the nice bouncy stuff, and just kind of makes it a bit of an angle. Then you've got the resonance knob. Now this is going to be very important. In fact, in some ways this should have as large a knob as the cutoff, because there's a lot of action going on with this particular thing. Oh, and just to point out, I really like in the miniaturization from the large module, you know, this size of thing and coming down, you know, these knobs here are fantastic. We love these knobs. But because this has been that much smaller, there's not room for 3 of these sorts of knobs all the way across. And so they've put these sort of silver halos on the front panel around the back to give the impression that they have skirts like this one, which I think is just a really nice touch. That tickled me, so I thought I would point that out. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, the resonance knob here. So there's a lot of action that's going to be going on with this resonance knob, and it has its own CV input to boost it into crazy places. In a second. Over here we have a VCA, which is odd. This is here because the chip that was being used happened to have a whole spare VCA going on inside it, and so Sam said, well, why don't we use that then? That would make it useful, and that way you can use just an oscillator and this, maybe an envelope, and you've got an entire synth voice just in a couple of modules, which is really nice. So you have this VCA built in with its own attenuator and level control, which simplifies your whole synthesizer voice. And then at the bottom you've got a pair of inputs, so you can mix 2 things together through it. You've got your weirdly labelled inverted and non-inverting attenuator thing here, so whether you want it to go in negatively or positively, and that's over the cutoff, which is here, but this only works on the top one. There's actually 2 inputs to the cutoff CV, so you can have an LFO going into one while you have an envelope going into the top, which would be an attenuverted there, all sort of mixed together. Then you've got the VCA CV inputs, again 2 of those for reasons I can't explain, one of which though is attenuated here, and then you've got the resonance CV input here, which is nicely highlighted because that's something of interest. Gotta love these little guys. These are fantastic. The artwork that all comes from Sam Battle is what was on the original Kosmo front panels and is just awesome. And then rewinding back to the top again is this weird button here called shelf. Nobody really knows what that does. It seems to have some kind of isometric destabilizing circuit in it or something. But basically what happens is that when you have lots of resonance up, you put that in and it gives you a whole different flavour of resonance. So it's really a flavour button. It's like, you know, bitter to sour. Well, sweet and sour. It's a sweet and sour button. That's what it is. That's what it should be called. So let's turn up the resonance and see what happens. So it has a bite point of about there. When you get what you would expect to see. the push of those overtones coming in. But then it just can't seem to help folding into itself. And it dismantles into something else. I mean, the whole thing has gone down an octave. And then with the resonance in place, if you flick the sweet and sour switch, it then becomes something else. Get the idea. Now, of course, this can resonate all by itself. It doesn't actually need an input. But interestingly, it doesn't do that until you kick in the shelf. As you put the shelf in, that just seems to cause a little explosion inside the resonance circuit, which pushes it into interesting places. What is that all about? Yes, indeed. We would have put something into the resonance CV. What is going on? So that's the resonance, as it were. Let's stick in a sawtooth into the input. Now the sawtooth waveform lets you give a good demo of the clip, as that really does have some impact on rounding off those corners. Oh, that's just so nasty. there's a nice triangle wave being pushed about the place. Just so fascinating. Right, so here's a bit of weirdness then. When you're taking in inputs from the performance VCO, which is unipolar, you can see the top trace here, the green one, is the output from the oscillator. The red one is the output from the filter. And you'll see with the VCO that it's all good. It's all good all the way around. Now if I take an input from another oscillator, say the Honor over here, just another sawtooth, you can see there's a sawtooth coming in. It's bipolar, going up and down round the 0 point. As I start to bring this in, nothing happens until I get about there, and then I get a little notch. Very, very, very odd. Let's bring the resonance down, which gets me a little bit more of my sawtooth wave, but not a whole lot. So I push that up. It then gets overwhelmed with awesomeness. But it's odd, it's been like transformed into a small pulse wave, but only at a certain point. You know, that is just plain weird. However, if I stick the shelf on or off, I'm not quite sure whether it's on or off, whatever it is, then it seems to behave a little bit more like you'd expect it to. But it's still weird. There's strange stuff going on. There's this weird stepping. If I take the sawtooth again from the performance VCO, it's just as strange and aggressive. but different. What's that about? I have no clue. Let's compare it to the Jove filter, which I got over here, which is a buttery smooth Roland-esque filter. Where you can experience the delight of every single overtone. Let's plug in the performance VCO. And it interprets it in exactly the same way, even though it's a unipolar waveform. The Jove doesn't care, it does the same thing. Buttery smooth. whereas in the filter grr, there is some kind of apocalypse going on inside there. So what is going on with all of this? Well, I mean, who knows? Who knows the mind of the man? I mean, you have to consider that the filter grr was designed in an environment where the performance VCO was the main VCO and existed, and that's what the combination was based upon. So these two love it. They're having a lovely time. They're out on the town drinking, getting Larry, having a wonderful time together. Other oscillators don't really know what's going on. They sort of are getting to this place going, oh, I thought this was supposed to be a nice relationship. Whereas the 1114 is going, nah, not really. Come on in and we'll, something interesting will happen. And that's what we get. Something flipping interesting. It's interesting, it locks in and then it just disrupts itself just in a really nice way. Take all the resonance off. There you go. It's a normal filter really. There's normalness in there. It's just when you start pushing it about, it starts getting a bit nasty. So there you go. What on earth are we supposed to make of that then? Well, it's evident to me that this was designed in the environment of the Kosmo format. And so within that format, the only oscillators you have really are the 1222 performance VCOs. So you've got those powering into this. And that combination of the 1222 and this is totally awesome. Just outstanding. I mean, it's pulling the very soul of one oscillator through itself, which is then spilling over and disrupting into crazy oscillations, weird stepping changes of distortion, and then overtones which become sort of roots and then fold back on themselves and then go, I'm now in charge, I'm going to octave this, I'm just going to fall apart where I stand. There's no real knowing, and within that combination though, there's a riot of awesomeness that's difficult to really get a handle on, because it will do the soft, bouncy, lovely stuff. It will do that, and then it will just go, nah, I'm going to fall apart. And then there's this mystery switch, which you go, I don't know why, and I also don't know why. Is it different now? I'm not entirely sure. The reaction that it has to other oscillators is perhaps a point of concern, because if you're just going to buy this as having, let's have a weird, strange Sam Battle mono computer filter in my system, then you're going to find its way of working is slightly different. You'll go, well, where's it gone? I mean, with the switch up, the waveforms are not really there, not until you've long sort of dialed up this way, and then they appear as pulses and strange, which then rip themselves apart. So its behaviour with bipolar waveforms is just, I don't really know how to explain it. It's just odd. However, with that switch down, it then turns on the raucousness of the resonance, but also seems to then acknowledge the existence of bipolar waveforms in a better way and makes it more generally usable in that sense. So all I'm saying is that you've just got to be aware that in some modes of this switch up, for instance, normal waveforms just don't seem to really work very well. Whereas it has the opposite effect on unipolar waveforms in that it really likes them, and then it likes them more. Like, yes, please. Oh, well, yeah, okay, let's go. Oh, yes, a bit of that. So it sort of does a bit of a number on you. You think, oh yeah, I got the hang of this, and then it robs you blind. Where have my waveforms gone? One may say, it's been eaten by this fella. It's insatiable appetite for waveforms. It just stuffs them in there, and you're never quite sure where they're going to come out of next. So, yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, I've had some great filters in my time. The Grit from British Noise Engineering. I mean, that just layers on these thick distortion vibes. Whereas this doesn't. It fits, it spits, it starts. It goes into a bit of a spasm, and then it unravels itself with more of that resonance. And then you flick the switch, and it... Again, I don't really know what this is doing, other than it goes, yeah, and oh, and yeah, and oh. Except for when you use a bipolar, then it goes, oh, nothing, and then oh, and then... I don't really know, is the answer. But what I hope I've done is demonstrate the fascinating possibilities that are within this thing. It'll filter, it'll crap out, it'll create strange overtones, it'll fold in on itself, and then it will fart like nobody's business. But oh my lord, how much fun is all of that? So if you are after a good old-fashioned low-pass filtering type experience, then this is not for you. If you're looking for something noisy, trashy, extraordinary, weird, strange and bizarre, take a look at this fella. You see, it fools you, it draws you in, it goes, oh yeah, no, that's nice. That's nice. Ah, yeah. See, that's lovely. It's creamy, smooth. Kind of like it. Yeah, those tones, man. See, it's a lovely filter. What have I been talking about? What do I mean by its strangeness? Oh, I don't know. There's a bit of that. I'm not even looking at it. That's brilliant. So while it's defying explanation in any kind of sensible way, it's just a lovely thing to play with. And you will play with it. You won't leave it alone. It's not the sort of thing you sit there on one thing and just let it go. No, you're going to want to keep playing. And then you're just going to want to bring that back in. Just occasionally. And the great thing is that you can CV control that. So you can sequence that in and out again. And then when you want it to scream, you just dial it in. Oh dear, that's lovely. So that's the 1114 filter grrr from Look Mum No Computer. It's a thing. Hope that was useful. In the meantime, go make some tunes.